What if everything you thought you knew about how the world really works was a lie? Not a small innocent lie, but a colossal, carefully constructed illusion designed to keep you playing small, while others play for keeps. That's what we're talking about today. Look, I'm not here to coddle you. This isn't your feel-good bedtime story. This isn't the watered-down wisdom you got in school, or from your well-meaning but often clueless family. What I'm about to drop on you is the kind of uncomfortable truth that society actively tries to bury. Most people, in their entire lives, will never glimpse this raw reality. And frankly, that's exactly how the system wants it. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like taking the red pill. Your life splits into a before and after. 500 years ago, a man named Machiavelli ripped back the curtain. He penned the most brutally honest, some would say dangerous, truths about human nature ever recorded. So incendiary that the Catholic Church banned his work. So profoundly insightful that kings, presidents, CEOs, and generals have devoured his words in secret, while publicly condemning them. Why the hypocrisy? Because Machiavelli didn't write theory. He wrote the gritty, no-holds-barred operating manual for human beings. Not how we wish we worked, not how we pretend to function, but how we actually work. Our primal drives, our hidden motives, the raw mechanics of power. And here's the kicker, the part that should send a jolt down your spine. The people who already grasp these truths, they're using them against you every single day. In the boardroom, in your relationships, in the political arena, even in the subtle power plays among your friends. They're playing 3 chess, while most of us are still moving pawns. Ever felt like you were missing a crucial piece of the puzzle? That's because you were. So ask yourself, why wasn't this stuff taught to you? Why didn't your dad sit you down and explain the real game? Why didn't your teachers? Simple. Because their fathers didn't teach them. Because society has subtly, almost imperceptibly, programmed us to believe that seeing reality clearly makes you cynical. That strategic thinking makes you manipulative. That understanding power makes you evil. It's a brilliant deception. But here's the unvarnished truth. Ignorance isn't virtue. Ignorance is a liability. Ignorance is weakness. And right now, in this moment, I'm going to start making you powerful. I'm going to make you dangerous. Once you absorb these truths, you will never, and I mean never, view human interaction, society, or even yourself the same way again. So before we dive headfirst into this rabbit hole, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to Miradox Human if you haven't already, and turn on notifications. Because what's coming next isn't just information, it's a paradigm shift. And you absolutely don't want to miss it. For your entire life, you've been sold a pleasant fiction. That humans are rational beings. That we logically weigh pros and cons, calculate outcomes, and make decisions based on pure reason. Let me be blunt. That's a dangerous lie. It's one of the biggest deceptions you've ever been fed. Machiavelli, centuries ago, saw through this facade. He wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." What does that mean for you? It means people make choices based on appearances, on illusions, on what feels right, not necessarily what is right. Think about it. Most people aren't chasing truth, they're chasing comfort. Ever had that friend who asks for brutal honesty about their failing relationship, only to ignore every single piece of advice because the truth stings too much? Or the coworker who complains about being broke, then blows $50 a week on fancy coffee because the ritual, the status, the fleeting treat-yourself feeling is too good to resist. Or perhaps a woman who claims she wants a nice guy, but consistently gravitates towards the one who treats her like an option. That's logic dying a quick, brutal death the moment it slams into desire, fear, lust, status, or pure, unadulterated comfort. This is the real game, and if you've been trying to win with facts, you've been playing it completely wrong. Here's the cold, hard truth. Facts don't move people. Feelings do. The man who masters feelings, who understands how to bypass the logical mind and speak directly to the emotional core, that man commands every room he enters. He doesn't waste time trying to prove he's right. He makes people feel he's right. And that, my friend, is an infinitely more potent form of power. Think about history's greatest influencers. Hitler didn't ascend to power with spreadsheets and meticulous data. He rose by crafting speeches that ignited raw anger, primal fear, and desperate hope. Corporations don't rake in billions by publishing the chemical composition of their soda. They sell you happiness in a bottle, a feeling, an aspiration. Religions don't spread through dry philosophical debates. They capture hearts, souls, and leverage the fear of damnation against the promise of paradise. This is precisely why your logical arguments fall flat. This is why your brilliant advice is ignored. This is why the people you desperately want to influence slip through your fingers like sand. You thought they were rational. They're not. They're addicts, constantly chasing the next emotional hit. So here's your first dark lesson. Stop trying to change minds with fact. Start shaping emotions. Want to inspire someone to follow you? Don't tell them what's good for them. Show them what makes them feel good about themselves. Want to influence a partner? Don't get into a logical debate. Make them experience the profound pain of losing you, or the exquisite joy of pleasing you. In business, forget just data. Craft the narrative, the story that makes your audience viscerally believe you are the inevitable winner. The man who argues with facts is a school teacher. The man who manipulates feelings is a king. Once you internalize this, you'll see through everyone around you. The politician's practiced smile, the influencer's curated brand, your co-workers' carefully constructed excuses. All of it, just masks, designed to protect feelings, not reveal truth. But once you see the mask, once you understand that beneath every action lies an emotion, a weakness, a hunger, that's when you can truly start to pull the strings. And trust me, that's just the beginning. Because if people are fundamentally irrational, then loyalty itself might just be the grandest illusion of all. Which brings us to Machiavelli's next chilling warning. Let's peel back the layers of polite society, strip away the well-intentioned but often misleading advice, and confront a raw, undeniable truth. In this world, there are ultimately two kinds of people: predators and prey. That's it. No fancy titles, no moral high ground, just the oldest, most brutal law of nature. The strong take, the weak are taken from. And here's the terrifying part. Weakness isn't just a failure to protect yourself. It's an invitation. Like blood in the water, it attracts the wolves. Think about it. Why does the school bully target the quiet, unassuming kid? Never the one who stands his ground. Why do corporations trim the weakest employees first when recessions hit? Why do women, time and again, abandon the man who bends over backwards for them and cling to the one who stands firm, who sets boundaries? Because predators, human or otherwise, always go for the easy meal. Machiavelli, with his characteristic cynicism, famously wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Not because fear is some noble ideal, but because fear creates distance. It keeps the wolves at bay. Love without strength is an open invitation to betrayal. But fear without love, that commands survival. Now, here's the sinister twist that most men never grasp. Weakness doesn't just destroy you. It contaminates everyone around you. A weak man forces others to shoulder his burdens. He's a drain, bleeding the strong dry until they either cut him loose or collapse under his weight. A weak man paradoxically, makes the world a harsher place for everyone else, because when predators devour him, they don't stop. They simply move on to the next easy target. This is why weakness is often more dangerous than cruelty. Cruel men at least can stand on their own 2 feet. Weak men become black holes, pulling everyone down into their self-created abyss. And yet, society, with its soft, soothing voice, tells you to be harmless, to soften your edges, to embrace your weakness. They call it sensitivity. They call it being a better man. But let's be brutally honest. The man who cannot defend himself, his family, or his hard-earned reputation is not a good man. He's a liability. Strength isn't optional. It's the non-negotiable price of admission to survival. Once you accept this, the world snaps into sharper focus. Every interaction becomes a silent test. Who is the predator? Who is the prey? Who is strong enough to dictate the terms? And who is weak enough to simply follow blindly? This is why, instinctively, women are drawn to men who exude strength. They know, deep down, that weakness cannot protect them. This is why true leaders ascend to power. People would rather obey the strong than be torn apart in the chaos of the weak. So, the question isn't whether you should be strong. The question is, will you be predator or prey? The choice is yours, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Think back to your childhood. Your father, your teachers, maybe even your mother. They all preached the same gospel. Be nice. Be agreeable. Don't make waves. Don't upset anyone. And people will like you. They lied to you. Plain and simple. Machiavelli, with his razor-sharp perception, saw this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so much inclined to obey immediate needs that a deceiver will never lack victims for his deceptions." Do you see the devastating implication? People consistently confuse weakness for goodness. They mistake obedience for virtue. And they tragically equate being nice with being valuable. This is precisely why women often say they want a nice guy, but consistently fall for the man who breaks rules, who challenges them, who radiates an unapologetic edge. This is why companies, while praising the team player, ultimately promote the ruthless, results-driven strategist. This is why the world relentlessly rewards the so-called bad boys, the tyrants, the sharks. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Nice is not the same as good. Nice is avoiding conflict because you're scared. Nice is saying what people want to hear so you can be liked. Nice is a desperate plea for approval, hoping for validation scraps. Good is an entirely different beast. Good is having the difficult, necessary conversation that no one else dares to. Good is speaking truth, even when it makes others deeply uncomfortable. Good is standing firm on your principles, even if it makes you hated. Nice guys chase approval. Good men earn respect. And here's the brutal, undeniable twist. Women don't respect the nice guy. Bosses don't truly trust the nice guy. Friends don't follow the nice guy into battle. Because niceness, devoid of strength, is nothing more than weakness in a pretty disguise. And weakness, my friend, is repulsive. Look at history. Were the greatest leaders nice? Caesar, Alexander, Napoleon? They could be generous, yes. Merciful, absolutely. But only ever when it served their ultimate power. Never at the expense of their strength. Look at modern titans, CEOs, presidents, championship athletes. Are they nice guys? Not a chance. They are fair. They are just. They protect those who stand with them. But they do not bend for approval. They do not tremble at rejection. They do not fear being disliked. And that is why they are followed. You can embody kindness without being weak. You can be profoundly good without being nice. But you will never, ever be respected if you are weak. Strength tempered with kindness is magnetic. Weakness masquerading as niceness is pure poison. If you take nothing else from this entire discussion, absorb this. Stop trying to be liked. Start demanding to be respected. Because when the ultimate choice for a man is between being feared, being loved, or being ignored, the most crushing, soul-destroying fate of all is to simply be ignored. That's your lesson, plain and simple. Your old man, bless his heart, probably instilled in you the sacred creed. Loyalty is everything. Be loyal to your buddies. Be loyal to your company. Be loyal to your partner. But Machiavelli, he saw through the romanticized BS and straight to the cold, hard mechanics of human nature. His warning was stark. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. Reread that. Safer to be feared than loved. Why? Because love, my friend, is a fickle, fragile thing. It's conditional. It's loyal only as long as it conveniently benefits the person giving it. You've seen this play out 1,000 times, haven't you? But maybe you just didn't have the guts to name it. That friend who only hits you up when they need a favor or a bailout. That company that preaches we're a family right up until the next round of layoffs hits, and you're just a number. That partner who demands your unwavering commitment while conspicuously keeping her options open. This isn't loyalty. This is exploitation, cleverly disguised as loyalty. And here's the crucial piece most men never fully grasp. Loyalty without reciprocity isn't noble. It's a gaping, bleeding weakness. A man who continually pours his loyalty into people who refuse to return it isn't virtuous. He's a damn fool. And fools, they're designed to be used, then discarded. Think about the most powerful men you know. Not the loudmouths or the pretenders, but the ones who genuinely control their own destiny. Are they blindly loyal? Do they stick around after blatant betrayal? After open disrespect? After being taken for granted? Hell no. They are strategically loyal. They understand loyalty as a contract, an unspoken agreement. The moment that contract is irrevocably broken, all bets are off. Here's the cold, unromantic truth. Loyalty isn't about being a blindly obedient dog. It's about being a wolf who chooses to walk alongside those who consistently prove their worthiness, and who bares his teeth the moment they don't. Machiavelli witnessed this brutal reality firsthand. He saw kings, too trusting in their beloved subjects, getting backstabbed. Leaders who believed love would protect them, only to be devoured by the very people who swore allegiance. And nothing has fundamentally changed today. In the workplace, in the marketplace, even in your own home. Loyalty exists, yes, but only for as long as it serves someone's self-interest. So, how do you wield this dangerous knowledge? It's simple, yet devastatingly effective. Be generous with your loyalty, but be absolutely ruthless about withdrawing it. Test people. Watch how they behave when there's absolutely nothing in it for them. Pay close attention to who shows up in your storms, not just your sunshine. And never, ever continue to give to those who relentlessly bleed you dry. A man who demands loyalty but never offers it in return is a tyrant. But a man who keeps pouring his loyalty into those who don't reciprocate, he's a slave. And slaves eventually get broken. So here's your second dark lesson. Never waste your precious loyalty on those who can't or won't return it. Because loyalty without reciprocity isn't love. It isn't honor. It isn't noble. It's weakness. And weakness, my friend, gets eaten alive. Which brings us to a terrifying question. If loyalty is so fragile, if love is so conditional, then what truly protects a man from betrayal? From exploitation, from being discarded the moment he's no longer useful. Machiavelli's answer to what truly protects a man was chillingly precise. Not love, not loyalty. It was reputation. A man without reputation is already dead. He just hasn't realized it yet. Machiavelli observed, everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. The devastating translation. It doesn't matter who you are. It matters who they think you are. And this, my friend, is where most men utterly fail. They mistakenly believe authenticity means spilling their guts, oversharing every fear, every weakness, every doubt. They cry about being misunderstood, then wonder why no one respects them. Here's the raw truth. The world doesn't reward the real you, the vulnerable, unfiltered you. The world rewards the strategic you. Your reputation isn't just window dressing. It's the impenetrable armor that shields you from betrayal, the sharp sword that cuts through lies, the powerful shadow that precedes you into every single room. With a formidable reputation, even your enemies hesitate. With a weak one, even your closest friends start to doubt you. Consider history. Alexander the Great conquered half the known world, not just through military genius, but through myth. He cultivated stories of being invincible, a demigod. His enemies believed it before the battle even began. Or look at modern times. Steve Jobs didn't just build Apple, he constructed an aura. People called it a reality distortion field. Investors, employees, even rivals bent to his will because his reputation made them believe he was untouchable. Now, compare that to the guys you know who constantly whine, constantly explain themselves, constantly try to convince others to see their true heart. They aren't respected, they're pitied. Which one do you want to be? Here's the dark lesson. Perception is reality. And if you don't seize control of that perception, someone else will define it for you, often to your detriment. Want to be perceived as competent? Stop whining about problems. Relentlessly present solutions. Want to be seen as valuable? Don't always be available. Scarcity creates worth. Want to be seen as powerful? Never explain your decisions to people who lack the authority to affect your life. This isn't about being fake. This is strategic authenticity, revealing only the parts of yourself that consciously serve your goals and bolster your image. Your reputation is like fire. Left unattended, it dies. Spread too wildly, it burns you alive. But controlled, it gives light, warmth, and yes, a healthy dose of fear. And here's the cruelest part of all. Once your reputation is tainted, once that single crack appears, it can take a lifetime to restore, if it ever fully comes back at all. A single misstep can obliterate years of meticulous work. So you must guard it more fiercely than your money, more fiercely than your relationships, because your reputation is your damn passport into power. Without it, you are already exiled to the fringes and irrelevance. But even reputation, gleaming and formidable as it is, isn't enough. Because there will always be those who envy it, who try to destroy it, who want your place. And that brings us to Machiavelli's next chilling warning. Here's a truth that most men desperately try to ignore. There is no avoiding war. It can only be postponed to the advantage of others. Most of us are conditioned to believe that peace is the default state, and conflict is a rare exception. Machiavelli knew the opposite. He understood that conflict isn't something that might happen. It's something that is always happening. In the boardrooms, in the bedrooms, in hushed whispers and subtle glances. The only real question is whether you're ready for it, or if you'll be utterly devoured when it inevitably arrives. Imagine your life as a constant battlefield. In your career, someone is always eyeing your position, waiting for you to falter so they can take your spot. In your relationships, there's always another man ready to step in if you become complacent or weak. In your social circles, someone is always subtly testing your boundaries, seeing how far they can push before you break. And here's the brutal reality. If you aren't prepared for war, you've already lost. The successful men you admire, the ones who consistently rise above the fray, they aren't surprised by conflict. They expect it. They train for it. They prepare during peacetime so they don't bleed out during the battle. A true warrior doesn't sharpen his blade only when the enemy is at the gates. He sharpens it every single morning, even when the field appears perfectly quiet. So, what does this look like in your world? In business, think of Amazon stockpiling cash and aggressively crushing competitors before they can even grow. They prepare long before any market shift. In geopolitics, nations build formidable arsenals, forge alliances, and infiltrate rivals during periods of so-called peace. In your personal life, it's the man who consistently stays in peak physical and mental shape, even when no immediate threat looms. It's the man who builds his savings and investments when money is flowing, not just when he's broke. It's the man who cultivates genuine allies when he doesn't desperately need them. That man, and only that man, survives when the inevitable storms finally hit. Machiavelli gave us that timeless animal parable. The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must therefore be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. Do you grasp the profound implication? You must be both, cunning enough to spot danger long before it fully manifests, and strong enough to utterly crush it when it arrives. Most men foolishly choose one over the other. They are clever but weak, the fox who eventually gets torn apart. Or they are strong but blind, the lion who falls headfirst into traps he never saw coming. But the rare man who embodies both, that man becomes truly untouchable. Here's the dark, undeniable law. Don't start unnecessary wars, but be prepared, mentally, physically, and strategically, to finish every single one. Because here's a secret that weak men never quite grasp. The man who is visibly prepared for war rarely has to fight at all. Why? Because predators possess an innate sense for strength. They always choose the weaker, easier target. So, transform yourself. Build yourself into the kind of man others are genuinely afraid to test. Not because you're violent or reckless, but because you radiate an undeniable, unwavering readiness. Train when no one is watching. Save when everyone else is blindly spending. Study when everyone else is distracted by noise. Forge yourself into a formidable weapon before the battle lines are even drawn. Then, when war comes, and I promise you, it will come, you won't panic. You'll already be ready. You'll simply execute. But let's be crystal clear, even with all this strength, cunning, reputation, and readiness, most men still get utterly destroyed for one dangerously simple reason. Because they confuse being nice with being strong. And that, my friend, is the final lie your father probably told you. People love to tell themselves a comforting fairy tale, that honesty is the ultimate virtue, that truth always triumphs, that integrity guarantees success. That's a beautiful dream, but it's pure fiction. The grim reality? Deception has built kingdoms, toppled empires, and carved the path of history far more often, and far more effectively than honesty ever has. Machiavelli, with his brutal candor, wrote, "A prince never lacks legitimate reasons to break his promises." Read that line again. He didn't say some men lie. He didn't say only the wicked betray. He said every leader, every ruler, every person in a position of power eventually deceives. Because deception, in this harsh world, isn't always corruption. Often, deception is simply survival. Look at the natural world. The cunning fox feigns weakness to lure its unsuspecting prey. The viper camouflages itself perfectly before it strikes. The anglerfish hides in the inky blackness, dangling a glowing lure until its victim swims directly into its jaws. Humans are no different. Politicians spin grand narratives and sell you dreams they have no intention of delivering. Corporations drape their potentially harmful products in marketing campaigns that promise family, joy, and freedom. Even in your own home, people make promises of loyalty, love, and forever, meaning it only until it inconveniently costs them something significant. And yet, most men cling desperately to the naive illusion that pure honesty will protect them. They believe that if they are good enough, the world will somehow reward them. Fools! Machiavelli knew the truth. The deceiver will never lack victims. Why? Because men are simple. Because men are desperate to believe the lie that offers them comfort, even if that comfort leads to their downfall. Now here's the brutal, unavoidable part. If you stubbornly refuse to deceive, you will still, inevitably, be deceived. If you refuse to play the game, you will simply become a pawn on someone else's board. Does this mean you should lie endlessly, cheat recklessly, and betray at every turn? Absolutely not. That's what short-sighted idiots mistake for power. What it does mean is that you must master the art of controlled deception. This involves strategically showing only certain masks, subtly hiding your knives, and revealing just enough to keep others comfortably blind to your true intentions and long-term moves. The world doesn't reward pure, unadulterated honesty. The world rewards strategic honesty. Tell the truth when it clearly strengthens your position. Lie when it is absolutely necessary to protect yourself or those you care about. Break promises when keeping them would destroy everything you've built. And above all, never, ever forget that everyone else around you is already operating by these same unspoken rules. Here's the dark law no one dares to admit. The purely honest man isn't noble. He's simply prey. You've been indoctrinated your entire life to believe that morality is absolute, that there's a clear line between good and evil, that the righteous are always rewarded and the wicked always punished. It's a comforting thought, isn't it? But Machiavelli, with his surgical precision, sliced through that illusion. He understood what most men never will. Morality isn't some universal truth handed down from on high. Morality is a mechanism of control. Think about it. Who decides what's good or evil? Not you, not the masses, but the powerful. When rulers demand obedience, they label submission as virtue. When leaders need sacrifice, they call dying for them honor. When the elites seek to maintain their grip, they redefine evil as anything that threatens their authority. And the masses, they swallow it whole. Why? Because believing in a fixed morality feels safe. It suggests the universe has order, that justice will always prevail. But history, my friend, laughs in the face of that illusion. Churches burned men alive in the name of morality. Nations justified slavery, conquest, and genocide in the name of morality. Modern governments bomb cities and sanitize it as defending freedom. Morality isn't about truth, it's about narrative. And those who control the narrative control morality itself. Here's the darker twist. The powerful rarely, if ever, obey the very morality they preach to you. They don't have to. They craft it for you. They tell you it's wrong to lie, all while deceiving you daily. They insist it's wrong to be ruthless, yet they crush competitors without a second thought. They preach against selfishness while hoarding unimaginable wealth and resources. Why? Because a population that genuinely believes in a fixed, unbending morality is incredibly easy to rule. They'll police themselves. They'll condemn each other. They'll bow to authority, convinced it's righteous. Meanwhile, the powerful break those rules whenever it serves their agenda, because they know morality is merely a tool, a lever, not an absolute truth. Machiavelli, ever the pragmatist, wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good, and to use this knowledge or not use it according to necessity. This is the true law. You are not to discard morality entirely. No, you are to wield it. Appear moral when it serves your goals. Break morality when your survival, or the survival of your vision, absolutely demands it. And above all, never, ever become a prisoner of someone else's moral code. Because the man who clings to a rigid morality at all costs is nothing more than a pawn, easily sacrificed. but the man who understands morality as a tool, who can bend it to his will when necessary. That man is a king. And this brings us to another fundamental truth about power. One that underpins every empire, every company, every family, every relationship, every single empire, every multinational corporation, every family unit, every significant relationship operates on a hidden economy. It's not primarily money or love or even honor. It's fear and reward. Machiavelli grasped this law with brutal, unblinking clarity. He understood that humans aren't primarily moved by abstract ideals. We are driven by immediate sensations, the primal fear of pain, and the insatiable hunger for pleasure. Strip away the pretty decorations of morality, religion, and politics, and you'll find this raw, powerful machinery underneath it all. Kings don't maintain their crowns by divine right. They hold them because their subjects fear their wrath more than they resent their rule. Corporations keep employees in line with the tantalizing carrot of a promotion, backed by the ever-present whip of unemployment. Parents raise children not solely through wisdom, but through a carefully calibrated dance of rewards and punishments woven into daily life. This is the unvarnished truth of power. He who controls the delicate balance of fear and reward controls the man. Look around you. The politician promising safety from enemies while offering tax breaks. The preacher promising paradise while warning of hellfire. The lover who masterfully withholds affection as punishment, then floods it as an overwhelming reward. These aren't accidents. They are ancient, deliberately honed tactics of influence. Most men fail miserably because they only offer one side of this equation. They try to lead exclusively with love, showering endless rewards until their generosity loses all value and breeds entitlement. Or they try to lead solely with fear, ruling with such unyielding cruelty that it inevitably sparks rebellion. Machiavelli knew the secret. The art lies in the delicate, masterful balance. Too much reward breeds entitlement. Too much fear breeds revolt. But the man who can strategically alternate between both, who can skillfully withhold affection to create a desperate hunger, then deliver it precisely at the peak of desire, that man crafts a loyalty stronger than any chain. Think about the often perplexing dynamics of an abusive relationship where the victim inexplicably stays. Why? Because after the storm of cruelty comes the calm of kindness. After the pain, a moment of profound relief and affection. The cycle itself becomes addictive, a deep psychological conditioning. Or consider the tyrant who clings to power for decades. Why? Because he punishes just enough to inspire fear, but rewards just enough to prevent outright despair. Now, turn the mirror on yourself. How do you influence others? Are you constantly giving, desperately hoping for love? Or are you a master of cold control, forcing obedience? Both are weak approaches. The true Machiavellian mixes the two like a master alchemist, blending poison and honey, crafting a dependence so profound that the thought of escape feels utterly impossible. This is how you must begin to think. What does this person fear losing most deeply? What does this person crave most desperately? And how can I strategically position myself as the one who holds the keys to both? Once you genuinely answer that, you don't just influence them, you effectively own them. This brings us to another critical aspect of human interaction, something people speak of as if it were carved from solid rock, unshakable, permanent, sacred, trust. People talk about trust as if it's an unshakable, sacred stone, permanent, invincible. But Machiavelli knew better. Trust isn't stone, my friend. Trust is glass. It can gleam, it can be beautiful, it can reflect light in a dazzling way, but the very moment it cracks, even slightly, it shatters. And once shattered, it will never ever be truly whole again. Here's the first dark law of trust. It is temporary. It exists only for as long as it mutually benefits both sides. Think about your own life. How quickly did a friend's trust in you evaporate the moment you failed to serve their immediate needs? How rapidly did your trust in a leader crumble after a single blatant betrayal? How many relationships have died over just one broken promise, regardless of the years of good deeds that came before it? This isn't the exception to the rule. This is the rule. The man who builds his entire life, his career, his relationships on the foundation of trust, is building on glass. And eventually, inevitably, it will shatter beneath his feet. But here's where the truly strong diverge from the weak. The weak beg for trust. They make salmos. They plead. They demand others believe in their true intentions. And when that fragile trust shatters, they collapse into a heap with it. The strong, they never beg for trust. They engineer it. They manufacture it through careful repetition, through a meticulously crafted image, through controlled exposure. They use trust as a powerful tool, never as their ultimate foundation. Think about the masterful con artist. He survives not because he is genuinely trustworthy, but because he knows precisely how to appear trustworthy. Think of the politician. He doesn't need genuine, deep trust. He just needs enough to secure the votes. Think of the expert seducer. He doesn't require unconditional trust. He just needs enough to lower his target's defenses. That's the second dark law. Trust doesn't need to be real. It only needs to be convincing. And the third law is even darker, more insidious. The man who trusts too much is far easier to control than the man who trusts absolutely nothing at all. Because the man who trusts blindly will, with a naive smile, hand you the very keys to his own destruction. He will forgive betrayal after betrayal, convinced you'll somehow change. He will believe excuses, no matter how hollow or transparent. He will cling to the illusion of trust long after it has clearly died, simply because the alternative, the cold, hard truth, utterly terrifies him. This, my friends, is why weak men are devoured. They mistake trust for proof of love, proof of honor, proof of some inherent morality. But in the ruthless calculus of power, trust is just leverage. And those who truly understand this hold the leash firmly around every blind believer's neck. So, burn this into your mind. Never depend on trust for your survival. Use it. Shape it. Exploit it when necessary. But never, ever rest your very existence upon it. 'Cause trust is not stone. It is glass. And it was made to break. You've reached the precipice, my friend. You've now glimpsed what most men will go their entire lives desperately avoiding. You've seen that people are not rational, but deeply, irrevocably emotional. That loyalty without reciprocity isn't noble, it's a profound weakness. That your reputation is an armor sharper than steel, a weapon more potent than any sword. You've understood that war isn't coming. It's always here, simmering beneath the surface. That niceness is often just weakness in disguise. That fear, fundamentally, outlasts fleeting love. That deception isn't corruption. It's a necessary tool for survival. That masks aren't just for Halloween. They're essential for navigation. That morality is not the truth, but a cage designed by others. That betrayal is not an anomaly, but an inevitability. That fear and reward are the true, undisputed currencies of control. And that trust, that fragile thing most men cling to as their lifeline, is nothing more than glass, waiting for the slightest crack to shatter. You were explicitly told not to know these things. You were painstakingly trained to close your eyes, to obey, to play nice, to be harmless. But now the blindfold has been ripped off, brutally and permanently. You now see the world not as it pretends to be, not as you wished it were, but as it truly, fundamentally is. And here's the most dangerous part of all. You can't go back. You can't unknow this. From this moment forward, you'll see every smile as a potential mask, every promise as potential bait, every act of virtue as a potential strategy. You have stepped irrevocably into the abyss of truth. And once you've truly seen the darkness, the illusory light of ignorance will never blind you again. So, the question is no longer will you learn these truths. You already have. The real question, the only question that matters now, is will you use them? Because knowledge like this is not just information. It is a potent, double-edged weapon. In the hands of the weak, it festers into crippling paranoia and consuming fear, destroying them from within. But in the hands of the strong, the disciplined, the courageous, it transforms into unyielding power, the kind of power that truly bends the world to your will. If you're strong enough to truly carry this burden, then walk forward with it, unapologetically. You're too weak, then bury it deep inside but pretend you never heard a single word I spoke. But for those who are ready to take the next, even deeper step into this abyss, understand this. What we've discussed today is only the beginning. Machiavelli left us far more than just warnings. He left us a chillingly effective blueprint for influence, for dominance, for unparalleled survival in a world that constantly seeks to diminish you. And I'm committed to showing you every single page of that blueprint. So, if you crave more, if you're ready to dive even deeper into the unvarnished strategies that rulers, seducers, generals, and kings have wielded for centuries to shape their destiny, then listen carefully and act now. Hit that like button. Hit that like button. Subscribe to Miradox Human if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications, because the next lesson won't just make you uncomfortable, it will make you untouchable. And when that happens, my friend, you will never ever be ignored again. I promise you that.